Welcome back to Newslink Russia on eNCA. Now, the Democratic Alliance is calling on Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane to launch an investigation into the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. The party wants a commission of inquiry into maladministration in the metro. Well, Nelson Mandela Bay has accumulated the highest amount of unauthorized, fruitless, irregular and wasteful expenditure of any municipality in the country. But joining me via Zoom right now is Eastern Cape DA leader Andrew Whitfield. And Andrew, thank you so much for your time. A very warm good morning to you. Why is a commission of inquiry the best route to take in terms of conducting investigations to what you believe are fruitless expenditure as well as maladministration within the Eastern Cape?
Well, we believe it's fundamentally important because the nature of corruption in Nelson Mandela Bay is so complex. It is relatively well documented over a number of years. There was a book that was written called How to Steal a City, which was literally a blueprint into how corrupt criminal syndicates were using civil servants and politicians in the city to extract rent from the ratepayers and to bring the city to its knees. We've seen subsequent coalition governments since 2016 and political instability, and we believe that the corruption inside and outside of the institution are directly linked to the political instability we see in council, where politicians are being used as pawns in this criminal campaign against law-abiding citizens in the city. We've also seen when the former late mayor, Mabuyane Mabuyane, was the mayor, the Great Drain Heist, where about 20 people were assassinated in what police called to be politically linked killings related to a drain cleaning tender. These issues remain unresolved and they hang over Nelson Mandela Bay like a cloud, with a heavy 20 billion rand irregular expenditure bill around our neck like a noose. And the Commission of Inquiry, an independent Commission of Inquiry, will help to connect all of these dots so that we can successfully prosecute those responsible, the kingpins behind this corruption.
It seems, Andrew, you're also quite clear that it cannot be politicians conducting this commission of inquiry. It cannot be the municipality itself. It needs to be an independent commission, as you've mentioned, appointed by the Premier himself in terms of the Provincial Commissions Act.
Well, just as the president is entitled to appoint an independent commission of inquiry, which he did with the Zondo Commission, so too are premiers of provinces empowered in terms of the Provincial Commissions Act to convene such commissions of inquiry. Nelson Mandela Bay is the biggest economic area in the Eastern Cape. It simply cannot be ignored by the premier. It has become a political pawn, a political football in a game where the provincial government is taking no responsibility in intervening with the powers that they have. We also maintain that the municipal structures that are available, such as internal audit, the Municipal Accounts Committee, we also have the Disciplinary Board, have either been captured or have been incapacitated and under-resourced over a long period of time, to the point that they are effectively ineffective in dealing with any of these issues. And that is why this is a last resort. We need to get the provincial government to appoint this commission, to appoint a judge preferably who can preside over such a commission, and ultimately get to the bottom of these syndicates that are operating with impunity in the city.
What are some of the cases or incidents? Perhaps, I don't know if you have that information at your disposal from either whistleblowers or those who are coming to the DA with information about, the rot or the alleged rot within the Nelson Mandela Bay. Perhaps share some of those with us. When we talk fruitless expenditure, maladministration, perhaps even fraud allegations, what are some examples here are we referring to that are allegedly occurring at the Nelson Mandela Bay?
Well, one specific example involves the current city manager, who was arrested recently and has been released on bail and continues to do her job. But those criminal charges were laid by the DA some years ago, where she, we believed, was implicated or involved in a corruption scandal, which was the awarding of a tender to a company, which company then in turn paid certain DA councillors to vote out then Mayor Athol Trollip. And the issue here is that you have external interests that are applying pressure on municipal officials or collaborating with them in these criminal networks in order to bribe councillors to vote a particular way or to ultimately vote out a government which is, in my view, is treasonous. And that is really the nub of why we've called for this commission of inquiry, is this toxic relationship between business, civil servants and politicians in Nelson Mandela Bay, which has crippled our administration, crippled our body politic and led to a dysfunctional council and ultimately placed service delivery on the back burner and the interests of residents along with that on the back burner. We can't continue like this. And I think really at the end of the day, cutting off the head of the snake, as I like to put it, is the only way to really start to bring about some administrative and political stability in the city.
It seems also, Andrew, one of the other concerns that you're raising as the DA is the abuse of the expended public works program funds. So what are you hearing about this? Because we understand these funds are meant to actually cater for some of the poorest communities and families out in the province and in the metro.
Well, Nelson Mandela Bay has one of the highest unemployment rates, and what little the government can do in terms of dispensing EPWP jobs should be done freely and fairly without any prejudice, bias or political interference. I know personally, as a former mayoral committee member in Nelson Mandela Bay for economic development in 2016 to 2018, the extraordinary pressure that political parties, some of whom were in coalition with us, would put on me and my department to identify work opportunities specifically for party political members. We always held the line, and we held the line to the point that we were ultimately removed from government so that those who wanted to achieve that unlawful allocation of work were able to then go and do that. And so we are very firm about the fair allocation of EPWP jobs. There is a policy in the municipality, it must be adhered to, but it has become a political weapon against other political parties. It has become a contested political space, which means that, you know, people are not getting a fair chance to get these work opportunities in a city which really desperately needs our poorest communities to receive some stipend, some income and some opportunity in order to move forward in life. The cost of living at the moment is so high. The very least we should be able to do is to provide fair allocation of EPWP jobs to the poorest people. This would be a centerpiece of the Commission of Inquiry's investigation, because it has been very clear to us, and we have tangible examples where political actors are influencing the outcome of various decisions in council, utilizing EPWP funds in order to extract patronage when it comes to the elections.
Perhaps, Andrew, if you may give us this update. We know that council was sitting yesterday, the 27th of September. Gary van Niekerk, the former mayor of the Nelson Mandela Metro, was currently going through investigations as well. At the time, we know that Retief Odendaal had said that they would move to actually expand within council for opposition parties to have the powers removed from Gary van Niekerk and to be handed over, of course, to the deputy mayor, that is Babalwa Lobisho, until the Hawks had concluded with their investigation. Do you have any updates with regards to that council sitting yesterday?
Well, Mayor van Niekerk is being investigated by the Hawks because when he was the Speaker of Council, he tried to effectively allocate work to a law firm in order to represent his own political party, which is absolutely outrageous. And that is the extent to which political interests have tried to capture this municipality. And Retief Odendaal yesterday in Council was trying to pursue this issue in terms of removing the Executive Mayor's delegated authority. It is the Council that delegates its authority to the Executive Mayor. The Executive Mayor has been abusing that authority. I'm not aware that that motion was successful yesterday. We are going to continue to pursue that issue because we cannot have an Executive Mayor who has no respect for the rule of law or his roles and responsibilities running around with his executive authority, making decisions that are ultimately going to compromise the municipality. We take it very, very seriously, and it's not something we're going to let go of easily. Gary van Niekerk needs to be held accountable. The Hawks need to investigate, and his delegated authority.
Andrew, unfortunately, seems like we have lost you there. and lost your picture, as well as you're continuing with your point, Andrew Whitfield, from the DA, just giving us, of course, a background of what they call abuse of funds that have been ongoing within the metro when it comes to EPWP particularly, but also maladministration, fruitless and wasteful expenditure that they have noted out in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, saying that, of course, they were pushing a motion in council yesterday to have Mayor van Niekerk, the former mayor of the Nelson Mandela Bay, whose powers they were pushing to be removed to the deputy mayor, Babalwa Lobish, of course, until the Hawks had conducted with their investigation. Say they will continue to pursue this matter.